Deep within the souls of all men stirs one eternal question. How each of us individually answers this question determines everything. It is, in fact, the question of life. It's not complex, sophisticated, or difficult to understand, yet it is not often discovered by the conscious mind. Even the so-called intellectuals are prone to overlook the question as they seek to know the mysteries of life. For millennia before the foundations of the world, and continuing still today, the battle for the eternal cause of liberty has been waged between those who answer life's question in the affirmative and those who do not. In ages past, there have been a few powerful movements where the cause of freedom rang, and the triumph of liberty had become more than rhetoric, dogma, and political posturing. These efforts echo through generations and stir the souls of good men and women across the globe. The story of the American Revolution, an 18th century movement for liberty unparalleled in man's history, is a story that sets the stage for a great work to be done by a new generation today. The American founders were an extraordinary group of individuals who transformed themselves into architects of the future. Noble and great men who loved life and could clearly see the significance of the question and the consequences of its attendant answers. They were few in number. They lived and died as icons to an age. The effect of their life's work culminated in 1776 as an entire generation awakened. These men were raised up and brought together to lay the foundation of the most powerful social experiment in human history. The work they started and the fruit it has borne is unparalleled among all men of all time. They gave humanity the needed ingredients for an explosion of light and inspiration and prosperity never before witnessed in a single generation. Called today simply the Founders, they sacrificed everything they had in making an answer to this imperative question. Their Declaration of Principles, the United States Declaration of Independence, has become the universal standard for the cause. Today, it's up to a new generation, the intellectual heirs of America's first founders, individuals who love freedom and are willing to follow in the footsteps of the founders to finish the work of revolution. Victory in the cause of liberty has always required men and women of principle who stand forth and move the cause of freedom based upon faith, loyalty, and conviction. Our movement today will not be carried forward by the lip service giving do-gooders. It will be led by modern patriots, the world's producers, who in spite of opposition, setbacks, and individual instances of failure, see past constant adversity, placing all they have on the altar for a better life. Freedom's heroes have been the same through the ages, founders of new societies, builders of nations, reviving ancient principles and becoming the new faces of history for future generations. The message they leave for their posterity is always the same timeless truth. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. But the work of the founders, in their own words, was not completed. For more than a century now, those who have chosen not to answer life's most important question in the affirmative have made devastating inroads. The timeless foundation of liberty, re-established by the founders, is eroding. The framework built upon it, though masterfully crafted, is crumbling.
I speak to you as a fellow citizen of the United States of America, deeply concerned about the welfare of our beloved country. I am not here to tickle your ears, to entertain you. I will talk to you frankly and honestly. The message I bring is not a happy one, but it is the truth. And time is always on the side of truth. Truth must be repeated again and again, because error is constantly being preached round about. I realize that the bearer of bad news is always unpopular. As a people, we love sweetness and light, especially sweetness. I am sorry to say that all is not well in so-called prosperous, wealthy, and powerful America. We have moved a long way and are now moving further and more rapidly down the soul-destroying road of socialism. The evidence is clear, shockingly clear, for all to see. With the crass, unconstitutional usurpation of power by the executive branch of the federal government, anti-spiritual decisions of the Supreme Court, all apparently approved by a weakly submissive rubber-stamped Congress, the days ahead are ominously frightening. One of our most serious problems is the inferiority complex which people feel when they are not informed and organized. They dare not make a decision on these vital issues. They let other people think for them. They stumble around in the middle of the road, trying to avoid being controversial, and get hit by traffic going both ways. Certainly, it behooves patriotic citizens, such as you, to meet together to seriously consider present conditions in our beloved nation. It is imperative that American citizens become alerted and informed regarding the threat to our welfare, happiness, and freedom. No American is worthy of citizenship in this great land who refuses to take an active interest in these important matters. Stand up for freedom, no matter what the cost. It can help to save your soul and maybe your country. May God give us the wisdom to recognize the dangers of complacency, the threat to our freedom, and the strength to meet this danger courageously.
Alexander Hamilton said, "A nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one." Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? Well, Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance.